right. And now we're going to get our next industry expert for Agentic AI. And the session is called the Agentic Paradox. Why more autonomy demands more control. And I want to make sure that I read this right. It's good VP. So I don't know if you have like good VPs and bad VPs, but this is a good VP, tech ecosystem and strategy development in clicks. So please welcome. Like your name is not here. Like I'm not. Good. All right, I'm not gonna make it up.
Yeah, so it's Josh.
Welcome.
Good's my last name.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's a terrible name to own a company, right? Like
because there is good VP, and I was like, well, who's the bad VP? You know, like I've seen some. I've seen some.
Yeah, it's a terrible name to have because you know, like, if I open a plumbing company, I'd be like Good Plumbing. Like no one's going to good. Like I got good enough plumbing, right? The title. Oh, we've already moved forward to the next slide. Let's just go back a moment here. There we go. So the autonomy paradox between demand and control. This is actually something that financial services and banking has been dealing with for a long, long time. If you think of self-service banking, I don't know if you know that the very first act of self-service banking in Canada went all the way back to March 1887 at the Halifax Merchant Bank, the Merchant Bank of Halifax. That was the first armed bank robbery in Canada. And that was the first act of self-service banking. Maybe a little too much autonomy and not enough control there, right? And the reaction to that was, you know, we'll lock the banks down, we'll get big safes, and we'll do all of those things. But the actual solution was what we see now, which is modern self-service banking, where we've now, you know, your banking experience as a retail banker is completely different. You walk in, you know, there's open doors, and you're actually encouraged to just go help yourself to your money. And we're seeing these type of things play out right now in AI. I'll give you a little background on myself. I got over 20 years of leverage asset management in Western markets. I've been running portfolios and cash flows using AI for about the same amount of time. And I also convene panels around the future valuation and forecasting of assets, particularly focused on Western markets. And that's just LinkedIn speak to say I have a mortgage and I bank online, and I sit around with my friends and complain about real estate prices out in British Columbia, where I live. So I'm actually a technologist. I've been involved in technology for my entire career. I've been working and looking at analytics and data and how that's affecting things. And what I'm going to do today is bring in a little bit of what's happening a little bit outside of the financial services, but what I've seen the pattern happen is financial services is when you embrace something, you do it really with gusto. Maybe take a little moment and make sure it's going to be okay, and we're, you know, regulations and so forth. And we saw that happen with cloud several years ago. But this pendulum that I've been talking about between centralization and decentralization, that's been going on and on and on for many years in technology. There's all of these pressures around to centralize things, and then there's all these pressures to decentralize. And typically what we've been seeing in technology is this is about a 10-year cycle in the past. You would have everyone, you know, in data and analytics, they would all be like, everything's going to go in the data warehouse. And then, no, that's all self-service visualization, and we're all going to do that. And it just sort of swings back and forth, and it's a nice pendulum. You just sort of go along for the ride. This is completely different now, what's happening. The pressures that we're seeing from AI have changed the game here. What we're seeing is there's pressures in both directions and great reasons to centralize and decentralize at the same time. You know, there's bigger data stacks that are coming out. There are huge amounts of people wanting to use their own self-service into AI and using agents, and we're having that pressure come really strongly in both directions. And at the same time, what's going on is 88% of employees across, we ran some surveys, and this is across all of industries, are using AI at work already. So the 88% of people are using using AI at work. The other 12% are liars. Or AI filled it out for them and they didn't read the question. But But the scary part about this, or the great part about this, is people are embracing new technologies and innovating. The sad part for corporations is 95% of enterprises are not measuring any ROI from their AI investments. Doesn't mean it's not there, they're just not measuring it. They don't know how to measure it, they can't find it, they don't know what's happening. And what we believe is really happening under the hood here is most of the ROI is going towards personal productivity, and then the individual is deciding how to benefit from that ROI. I'm a big skier, I go skiing, right? I find ways to respond to people faster. I use the time to connect with my colleagues instead of sitting there and writing emails, right? But that doesn't come out easily in an ROI calculation at an enterprise level. What's ultimately happening as we're looking at the trends in the market is traditional hierarchies are starting to break down. So data is living everywhere. Agents are bringing up autonomy, and every individual now is starting to run almost like their little own CEO, right? You're keeping track of what your costs are to run your little personal AI projects. You're looking at what the ROI is on your time to do things as you're using AI to do that. And execution and power is really outpacing the policies that we can have and what we can do. And I thought the talks we've heard this morning of, are humans the problem for AI adoption? Is it AI not the problem? Do we need to take more risk? Where's the trust coming from? These are all parts of this hierarchy breaking down problem. So hopefully you're with me at this point, that this pendulum of control for centralization, decentralization, it's a completely impossible equation now. And what I propose to you is we need a new model. We need a new model that looks at integrity at the core, and then you have innovation at the edge. And you need to connect those two things through an interoperability spine. And all of that is orchestrating all of this at once. You need to walk and chew gum, is the simple way of saying it. This is the LinkedIn way of saying it. My way of saying it is walk and chew gum. So at Click, what we've done is we've thought a lot about this, and actually, someone on my team, Dan Summer, he puts together trends every year. You can scan the QR code down there, and we looked at data, agents, roles, and execution, and then put through ways that you can deal with this dichotomy and this moving to this new model of having centralization and decentralization and connecting it together all at once on there. So we have innovation at the edge, interoperability in the grid, and the integral core. We look at that across data. I'll just build it out. It's easier if we just build the whole thing out. And you can see there's ways of dealing with that and doing these things all at once. I would go into all the details on this, but unfortunately, I only got about 20 minutes left. And this is a whole 1-hour presentation on its own. So just scan the QR code. And it's not product specific or anything like that, but I think it will really, really help you out. The thing we have to remember here is the clock keeps getting reset on what the standard is on what we need to do. The AI is moving things faster and faster and faster, and it's incredible. I remember growing up, I was we got the internet. I'm sort of at the age of where the internet, I remember dialing up to the internet, and it was so exciting. It was like 14.4, fast, right? And then you think back to the Industrial Revolution. The pace of change makes the Industrial Revolution look slow, right? This is incredible. And a great example is as the next frontier of generative AI, which is agents. So, Gen AI sort of talks, and agents walk. They're doing things for us. This is an amazing thing to have a personal assistant, have a group of employees, be able to do so many things for you, and we just call them agents. They're just technology, right? The thing that's unfortunate, or the challenge, what really lies in it, and I think the panel before me set this up great. Thank you. I will all buy you lunch. I got a nice buffet for you that I'll set up later. The thing is that it's not really the AI technology that is our fundamental challenge. It's the data. And I think we know that. And we've ran some studies about where those challenges are. It's around quality, availability, accessibility. It's about being able to integrate it into multiple systems. And it's about being able to govern it and scale it out. You got to be able to get that into all your systems. So what I propose to you is you need to think about how you're managing your data and analytics, how you're doing this a little bit differently than you have before. The first thing is trust and contextual data. Yeah, and that lowers risk. I know with this audience, if I talk about lowering risk, ears pipe up. People look up from their BlackBerries. Anyone look up for them now? No BlackBerries? But that contextual trust on your data is so essential. But it's not the only thing. You also need ways to control cost at speed. The easiest way to control cost, and the natural way that CFOs control costs, is tell you to stop doing everything. Oh, well, you stop doing everything. That doesn't work in this world anymore. You have to continue to use AI. You have to use it aggressively, and you have to control speeds. Has anyone here gotten a surprise bill yet from an LLM vendor where you're like, oops, didn't mean to? Someone's honest back there. Thank you. I got one. I got one personally, and I've gotten one at work. The one personal was much more difficult to explain to my wife than the one at work, which was a little more understanding. So you have to figure out, though, how to manage those costs, but still move at speed. And then finally, the only thing we know for sure is that you're going to need agility. Everything I'm saying right now, there could be something happening in the world right now that makes half of what I'm saying to be like, oh, well, that's not really a problem anymore. Someone figured something out, and now there's a thing that does that. And you have to go check out this new website that I'm going to say out loud, and you're not going to understand how to type it in because we're running out of websites, it seems like. Now you got all these interesting new companies coming out with weird names with letters and numbers in them. But that ability to pivot and then embrace that change is so important, and you need to plan for that and be able to plan and pivot fast. Let me give you an example of how things are really different than they used to be. So I came from an analytics background. I used to build dashboards and do those type of things, and it was really fun. It was empowering. It made me feel great about what I could do and produce for somebody else so they can consume their analytics and get their insights. That world is pretty much gone. Now, that's not to say you don't still need your dashboards. Dashboards will live on for a long time. We still have PDF reports, right? But the primary mode that people will interact with data and analytics going forward is going to be much more natural and proactive. It's going to be through chat agents. It's going to be through voice, and it's not going to be through a predefined interface like a dashboard. And that's what we're moving towards at Click. Do you have dashboards? Keep them. They're actually going to get leveraged by this. Don't change things that are working just for the sake of changing them. But it's a very different paradigm on how you're doing that. And we think about this as being agentic, but the reality of what's going on underneath the hood from an AI, just an AI perspective, is you got predictive AI running underneath there. So you have AutoML and predictive models running underneath that. You have all sorts of generative, which is understanding and synthesizing that information. And then you have the agents on top that are able to take action, give suggestions, and then integrate with other technologies as well. And the investments, as you see, 50% of the use cases last year when we did a survey were just predictive use cases. So that's great because you can get the AI funding and make the board happy that you're doing AI and you're doing predictive AI, which is, I don't want to call it old AI because it's really important, but it's something we've been able to do for a long, long time. It's easier than ever. And then you have the generative side that there's huge investments there. And then agentic, because that's the buzzword that all the marketers like to talk about right now. An example of how I went past it. This is an example at Click, how we've evolved along that curve. So we started out with something called Insight Advisor, which was natural language analytics. It's kind of next to your dashboard. You type in and say, hey, could you find me a little more insights? It would give you some more insights on your structured data. We added in 2024 unstructured data with something we called click answers. The cool part is now you could go over here and you could do your structured data, and then you go over here and you could get your unstructured data. And 80% of your data is unstructured, just if you didn't know that. So huge amount of more opportunity for insight. And then the big trick was bringing that all together in an agentic experience, which would bring your structured, your unstructured data together, and then actually be able to take the action from the insight and the visibility you'd get from that. And that we just released recently. So this is really exciting times where we've gone from a case where you sort of got a pre-built dashboard application where you were sort of looking around and someone sort of decided for you what area you were going to look at of the business or what problem you were going to work on, to a world now where literally the entire data set of the organization is available to you within security and regulatory compliance. And you can then move at the speed of thought and where you need to go to get all of those answers. Not unlike your home life, where you start off with a random question, and next thing you know, you're booking a vacation somewhere, and you've also gone and found your long-lost cousin who lives in that location you're going to, where they're totally connected in the human brain, but perhaps would not be connected in a rigid data space. So, to bring it back up a level, to make the data work for you, think about how to achieve AI. Think about where trusted and contextual data and insights can get together. And that goes back to lowering your risk. Think about how you can accelerate AI. The way you can accelerate AI is through efficiency, which means being cost-effective. But cost-effective from a monetary standpoint and from a time standpoint. And then think about how to adapt AI. How do you adapt AI for the current situation you need and the current things you're doing, and how is it going to be able to continue to adapt that going forward in the future? I've been fortunate that I get to fly all around the world and talk to all sorts of customers of ours who are doing these sort of things. I do like to come to Canada, though, and come to Canada. I get to stay in Canada as much as I can, just fly out west. A single flight for me is just like a dream. So happy to come and talk to you all about this here in Toronto. And my nephew lives in Toronto, so I get to visit him too. So I'm incentivized, right? You got to multitask. But we have lots and lots of customers who are getting value. And I went and grabbed a few financial services ones as an example. So Transbank, they're in LATAM. They do a whole bunch around contactless payments, running all those contactless payment systems, running like 9 billion transactions a day. And they're using AI to understand how their customers are getting their performance out of their technology stack. And then they're using that to predict churn, provide customer service, and actually do win back on customers. And that's all running on Click underneath the hood. One of the other ones I thought was really interesting was Integra. What we're doing with them is we're helping them get less leads. Isn't that crazy? We're helping them get less leads. What's happening here is they do small personal loans, and the really big challenge with that is finding the best leads, the Glengarry leads, right? And using AutoML and the Agentic experience, we'll go through those leads that they can purchase, and then just from the information about them, they can run predictive analytics on which ones are most likely to turn into loans that they can offer, and then they only buy those leads and then move them through. So they're saving over $1 million a year by getting less leads, which is completely backwards, right? It's like, I need more leads. Everyone always needs more leads. That's how we're helping them out. And what this is ultimately doing here is it's about a little bit of a different approach. And we focus on 3 different things here to do that. So trusted data products, an analytics engine, so thinking analytics first, and then agentic experience. And I'll break that down for you really quick. And this applies to how we run our products, but these concepts are applicable to regardless of your tech stack. So what we do with trusted data, with trusted products, is we think a lot about making data products. So if you have trusted data products, then you have the ability to be on a solid foundation. So think about how we can stream and bring that in real time and near real time to deliver to responsible AI. We curating those ready-to-use governed data sets, and then continuously providing monitoring and access and reliability, so the full quality on that data as well. Now, trust is where it starts, but trust isn't really that helpful without context. So if you're like, yes, I trust it, but you have no context about the data, you're missing an important piece of the puzzle. So context-rich, AI-driven intelligence becomes so important to getting that value out of your data and moving it into the place where you can take action from those insights. So revealing the patterns, the associations, the blind spots. Our technology is set up specifically to do that. It's not a query-based technology. It understands how all the data is related at all times. If you're familiar with graph, it's not graph, but it's kind of cool like graph. And then it's the ability to do calculation speeds and with accuracy and efficiency. So it's actually running the calculations in real time, and it's very, very, very efficient. And the importance about efficiency is then you ask the next question. Has anyone ever said, I wonder if, and they're like, I can't be bothered looking it up. It's too much trouble. And then, either you have one of those great conversations in the bar where you argue over who was in the movie, or you just can look it up really quick on your phone. The cost to ask the question is so important. And when you have agents asking questions, you got to be really careful about what your cost is to ask the question, because those agents are just going to keep asking the questions and then drive that bill up. This is flagship technology that we have. It's been in our product for over 30 years. We've added machine learning to it over the past several years, and it gets a huge amount of industry accolades. So these kind of things is thinking about how are you going to get that context. And then the last thing is adaptability. So unifying data through agents, supporting data from anywhere. Anyone still running mainframes? Anyone not running mainframes in financial services? Yeah, I like the awkward laughter, like I don't want to admit I'm running mainframes and everyone else next to me is running a mainframe. Yeah, mainframes are still running everywhere, and everyone's running in the cloud as well, and everywhere in between. So you have to be able to find the way that you're going to get performance out of multi-platform environments. Critically, you also need to have agents be able to work through and have standardized protocols like MCP, which we run, and that makes our customers successful. And then delivering it in a way that you can execute actual action on it. We've all been to those meetings where somebody's like, oh, that's interesting. Well, I'm just going to go with my gut at the end anyway. Right? We got to execute action and execute it at scale. So I'll give you one more little thing about Click that I'm very proud of is our investment in Canada. We have a very large partner network here. We have a talented workforce. One of our two major R&D centers is in Canada, which is up in Ottawa, and well, technically Canada, but we'll call it Ottawa. And that's actually where all of our cloud R&D is done. And I know in this industry, when I say cloud, you go, but is it in Canada? And no, it isn't, but yes, it will be by the end of Q2. And that'll be a fully run cloud region in Canada, and we are going to immediately move to CCCS certification on that so that we can have about 80-90% of government data will be available in that, and that will meet many of your standards here for financial services as well. So that's a little bit of a pitch of why it's worth it to come talk to me later, or just come talk to me about skiing. But when you think of the agentic paradox, really think about how you're going to get trusted context. Think about the ways you're going to control your costs at speed. That's a really important thing. It's easy to go slow and cheap. It's really hard to go fast and cheap. And then also think about your ability to pivot, move fast, and adapt as you're going along. So that's everything I had. Here's a little bit more about Click, but I'm happy to take any questions. I think we got like 2-3 minutes. We can do that. No questions? Did I just answer everything you can? No questions? Great.
Well,
Yeah, I'm in between you and a snack or the bathroom. That's what's going on here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Good?
Mr. Good, yes.
Mr. Good. And certainly I'm going to go after and have a little talk to you. We are working in a lot of agents, and we are already to the point that we have several. We're going to have to connect it together, for them to work together, check the cost. Also, we have different clouds. As many banks, we have many. So then it's like, oh, should we have this one or this one? Or like maybe.
Yeah, the multi-agent systems are so exciting. They're a little scary because are we building Skynet? But I think it's such an amazing opportunity what you can do when you got a few agents running and working together.
Yeah, as well as like we have the different agents, but we let's say there is many banks or many big companies that have AWS as well as Google and Azure, Databricks or Snowflake or So then it's like, where do you run? Like when you have already your MCP and you want to call a LLM agent, like maybe different costs. Like if you go to each of those, or maybe there are different speeds on the speed of answer, or different also suite of models that they offer. So
that's one thing that we're spending a lot of time looking at is how do you make those decisions, and should you even make those decisions? Having an orchestration agent becomes really, really important, and that's one of the things that we're able to do is we can orchestrate, and then the vision is to be able to cost optimize that as well within the other constraints you have. So it may be cheaper to take your customer data and send it to India and process it there. We probably don't want to do that. We'll do it within Canada, and we'll find it there as an example of a minor and rather simple version of how you can run multi-agent systems and make those decisions.
All right.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And I recommend to go and check that out, because if it's not important to you today, it's going to get important very soon. Oh, I left my iPad on the table. All right. So I think we have a break now. So it's all good. Yeah, we have a break. So you guys can go to the main hall where our sponsors are, as well as probably there will be coffee, there will be treats for you. And then in 30 minutes, so around 11:15, here in this main room we'll have track 1, which is the strategic track. And in the other, in track 2, will be in another room. So check the agenda in your app to understand which is more interesting for you. And then you decide if you come to the main room. I'll be here waiting for you. And if not, in track 2 is going to be Dalia presenting the session over there. All right? So see you in 30 minutes and enjoy your networking.